I share God's will for happiness for me. I share God's will for happiness for me. Hello, I'm Willie from the Ozarks. We're ready for Lesson 102 in A Course in Miracles Workbook for Students. We're reading from the original edition here on Wednesday, April the 12th of 2023. I share God's will for happiness for me. You do not want to suffer. You may think it buys you something and may still believe a little that it buys you what you want. Yet this belief is surely shaken now, at least enough to let you question it and so suspect it really makes no sense. It has not gone as yet, but lacks the roots that once secured it tightly to the dark and hidden secret places of your mind. Today we try to loose its weakened hold still further, and to realize that pain is purposeless, without a cause and with no power to accomplish anything. It cannot purchase anything at all. It offers nothing and does not exist. And everything you think it offers you is lacking in existence, like itself. You have been slave to nothing. Be you free today to join the happy will of God. We've been slave to nothing, the great nothingness. For several days we will continue to devote our longer practice periods to exercises planned to help you reach the happiness God's will has placed in you. Here is your home, and here your safety is. Here is your peace, and here there is no fear. Here is salvation. Here is rest at last. Begin the longer practice periods today with this acceptance of God's will for you. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. Don't wait, don't delay your happiness. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. Then seek this function deep within your mind. Then seek this function deep within your mind, for it is there awaiting but your choice. You cannot fail to find it when you learn it is your choice, and that you share God's will. Be happy, for your only function here is happiness. Be happy, for your only function here is happiness. You have no need to be less loving to God's Son than He whose love created Him as loving as Himself. Besides these hourly 5-minute rests, pause frequently today to tell yourself that you have now accepted happiness as your function, as your one function. And be sure that you are joined with God's will in doing this. Wow, you're joined with God's will in practicing happiness. That's your function. So in your longer 5-minute practice period, to take at the top of every hour if you can, tell yourself, I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. Then seek this function deep within your mind, for it is there awaiting but your choice. You cannot fail to find it when you learn it is your choice and that you share God's will. I share God's will for happiness for me. Okay, wow, what a beautiful lesson. Isn't it nice to know that we're just supposed to be happy, carefree, knowing that our Father cares for us and we're playing in His yard? You know, we're cared for, Him watching us through His window. I picture God looking out the window, just watching the kids play in the backyard safely. Anyway, that's just a picture I have of God. And we're going to look in chapter 11. We're in that. The mechanism of miracles is section 3 in chapter 11, God's plan for salvation. And as you're turning to the mechanisms of miracles, let me tell you about a cabbage. And it's called the Kalibos. It's a purplish one. Look at that beautiful red cabbage. Kind of a feather-looking cabbage. 85 days, incredibly graceful appearance would qualify Kalibos cabbage for the flower garden. but this European variety is eminently useful as well. The conical, long, heart-shaped, 2-pound heads of deep red are on the small size, ideal for a single dish. The color is so beautiful when the leaves are shredded into slaw, and the flavor is mild and very sweet. They're good keepers as well, allowing you to enjoy your fall harvest well into winter. And I read to you out of the Baker Creek Heirloom Seed Catalog. So get you some Kalibos cabbage. It sounds like a nice one to grow for ornamental and for eating. Okay, what all is going on around the world today? Well, it's the Big Wind Day. What is Big Wind Day? Well, Mount Washington in New Hampshire recorded the highest wind on planet Earth in 1934, 231 miles per hour. And it's the DEAR Day. Deer Day is Drop Everything and Read Day. Grilled Cheese and Sandwich Day. Halifax Day, which Halifax, North Carolina was when they were the first to be a proponent of the U.S. independence. International Day of Street Children. International Day of Human Spaceflight, also known as Cosmonaut Day in Russia particularly, and that's when Yuri's also known as Yuri's Night, Yuri's Night, and it's when Yuri Gagarin in 1981 orbited planet Earth, launched humanity into a new era. National Day of Pink, which is dedicated to femininity, sensitivity, and tenderness. National Only Child Day, School Librarian Day, Walk on the Wild Side Day, and that's that song Walk on the Wild Side is a counterculture anthem. Wear a Star Day, memory of those stars that came into our life as little children and left this planet. And now they're brightly shining. They were shining while they're here, and they're shining forevermore, like the stars. So today is a memory of those children. Wear a Star Day. And National Licorice Day. And I figured, well, if it's National Licorice Day, let's look at what Native Americans use licorice for. It has a lot of health benefits, by the way. Native Americans of the Great Plains used American licorice, which is Glycyrrhiza lepidota, for medicinal and nutritional purposes. The Lakota used American licorice as a fever remedy for children. They steeped the leaves and were used for earaches, and the roots were chewed and held in the mouth to relieve toothache and sore throats. And I might mention, I found all that on Forest Service of the USDA government website. But I found on patch.com they were used for upset stomachs, diarrhea, to relieve cough, chest pain, sore throat, and earache. These were all Native American uses of it. So when they chewed it, what I was going to say, when they chew that, those juices would go down and would help a lot of gastrointestinal ailments, which modern science has shown that they do have a lot of good compounds that could alleviate upset stomachs and other gastrointestinal problems. Okay, well, let's go. Let me put my little card back up here so I'll be able to sing us a little song when we close here. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. Can you do that today? Let's do it. Look deep into your mind and find any blocks to not letting you do it. Okay, the mechanism of miracles. Fear is a symptom of your deep sense of loss. And before I read this, I do want to say just briefly that I am so grateful that you are here joining me here on the banks of Silver Creek. And I'm just so appreciative that I get to share these ideas with you, because they really help me. I don't want to be a hypocrite, so I try to do my lessons every day, just like I'm sharing to get you to do them. And does it ever help me to be able to share with others, knowing that I have a responsibility to be honest and do them also. So I'm getting a lot out of them. So thank you for letting me share with you. It helps me. Hopefully it helps you as much. The mechanism of miracles. Fear is a symptom of your deep sense of loss. If when you perceive it in others you learn to supply the loss, the basic cause of fear is removed. Thereby you teach yourself that fear does not exist in you. For you have in yourself the means for removing it, and have demonstrated this by giving it. Fear and love are the only emotions of which you are capable. One is false, for it was made out of denial, and denial depends on the real belief in what is denied for its own existence. Did you catch that? So, fear and love are the only emotions of which you are capable. One is false, which is fear, for it was made out of denial of love. And denial depends on the real belief in what is denied for its own existence. Paragraph 12, by interpreting fear correctly as a positive affirmation of the underlying belief it masks, you are undermining its perceived usefulness by rendering it useless. Defenses which do not work at all are automatically discarded. If you raise what fear conceals to clear-cut, unequivocal predominance, fear becomes meaningless. You have denied its power to conceal love, which was its only purpose. The mask which you have drawn across the face of love has disappeared. Wow, what a nice way to look at it. He's going to really emphasize this though. So let's continue to look. I'm trying to move my guitar out of the sun. Paragraph 13. If you would look upon love, which is the world's reality, how could you do better than to recognize in every defense against it the underlying appeal for it? And how could you better learn of its reality than by answering the appeal for it by giving it? The Holy Spirit's interpretation of fear does dispel it, for awareness of truth cannot be denied. Thus does the Holy Spirit replace fear with love and translate error into truth. And thus will you learn of Him how to replace your dream of separation with the fact of unity. For the separation is only the denial of union, and correctly interpreted, attests to your eternal knowledge that union is true. 14. Miracles are merely the translation of denial into truth. If to love oneself is to heal oneself, those who are sick do not love themselves. Therefore, they are asking for the love that would heal them, but which they are denying to themselves. If they knew the truth about themselves, they could not be sick. The task of the miracle worker thus becomes to deny the denial of truth. The sick must heal themselves, for the truth is in them. Yet having obscured it, the light in another mind must shine into theirs because the light is theirs. 15. The light in them shines as brightly regardless of the density of the fog that obscures it. If you give no power to the fog to obscure the light, it has none, for it has power only because the Son of God gave power to it. He must himself withdraw that power, remembering that all power is of God. You can remember this for all the sonship. Do not allow your brother not to remember, for his forgetting is yours. But your remembering is his, for God cannot be remembered alone. This is what you have forgotten. To perceive the healing of your brother as the healing of yourself is thus the way to remember God. For you forgot your brothers with him. And God's answer to your forgetting is but the way to remember. 16. Perceive in sickness but another call for love, and offer your brother what he believes he cannot offer himself. Whatever the sickness, there is but one remedy. whatever the sickness, there is but one remedy. You will be made whole as you make whole. For to perceive in sickness the appeal for health is to recognize in hatred the call for love. And to give a brother what he really wants is to offer it unto yourself. For your Father wills you to know your brother as yourself. Answer his call for love, and yours is answered. Healing is the love of Christ for his Father and for himself. 17. Remember what we said about the frightening perception of little children, which terrify them because they do not understand them. If they ask for enlightenment and accept it, their fears vanish. But if they hide their nightmares, they will keep them. It is easy to help an uncertain child, for he recognizes that he does not know what his perceptions mean. Yet you believe you do know. You think you know what your perceptions means. And it's easy to help a little child because they don't know yet. And so they ask somebody they trust, and then they get to happily laugh about what they were afraid of because they realized it was nothing more than the great nothingness. Little children, you are hiding your heads under the covers of the heavy blankets you have laid upon yourselves. You're hiding your nightmares in the darkness of your own certainty and refusing to open your eyes and look at them. 18. Let us not save nightmares, for they are not fitting offerings for Christ, and so they are not fit gifts for you. Take off the covers and look at what you are afraid of. Only the anticipation will frighten you, for the reality of nothingness cannot be frightening. Let us not delay this, for your dream of hatred will not leave you without help, and help is here. Help against the great nothingness. Learn to be quiet in the midst of turmoil. Learn to be quiet in the midst of turmoil. For quietness is the end of strife, and this is the journey to peace. Look straight at every image that rises to delay you, for the goal is inevitable because it is eternal. The goal of love is but your right, and it belongs to you despite your preference. 19. You still want what God wills, and no nightmare can defeat a child of God in his purpose. For your purpose was given you by God, and you must accomplish it because it is his will. Awake and remember your purpose, for it is your will to do so. What is your purpose? I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function or my purpose now. Awake and remember your purpose, for it is your will to do so. What has been accomplished for you must be yours. Do not let your hatred stand in the way of love, for nothing can withstand the love of Christ for his Father, or his Father's love for him. 20. A little while and you will see me, for I am not hidden because you are hiding. I will awaken you as surely as I awaken myself, for I awoke for you. In my resurrection is your release. In my resurrection is your release. Our mission is to escape crucifixion, not redemption. Trust in my help, for I did not walk alone, and I will walk with you as our Father walked with me. Did you not know that I walked with him in peace? And does not that mean that peace goes with us on the journey? 21. There is no fear in perfect love. We will but be making perfect to you what is already perfect in you. There is no fear in perfect love. We will but be making perfect to you what is already perfect in you. You do not fear the unknown, but the known. You will not fail in your mission because I failed not in mine. Give me but a little trust in the name of the complete trust I have in you, and we will easily accomplish the goal of perfection together. For perfection is and cannot be denied. Remember how Jesus said, be ye perfect even as the Father in heaven is perfect? Well, he says, for perfection is and cannot be denied. To deny the denial of perfection is not so difficult as the denial of truth. And what we can accomplish together must be believed when we see it as accomplished. 22. You who have tried to banish love have not succeeded, but you who chose to banish fear will succeed. The Lord is with you, but you know it not. Yet your Redeemer liveth and abideth in you in the peace out of which he was created. Would you not exchange this awareness for the awareness of your fear? When we have overcome fear, not by hiding it, not by minimizing it, not by denying its full import in any way, this is what you will really see. You cannot lay aside the obstacle to real vision without looking upon it, for to lay aside means to judge against. If you will look, the Holy Spirit will judge and will judge truly. He cannot shine away what you keep hidden, for you have not offered it to him, and he cannot take it from you. And the last paragraph for this section, 23, we are therefore embarking on an organized, well-structured, and carefully planned program aimed at learning how to offer to the Holy Spirit everything you do not want. He knows what to do with it. You do not know how to use what he knows. Whatever is revealed to him that is not of God is gone. Yet you must reveal it to yourself in perfect willingness, for otherwise his knowledge remains useless to you. Surely he will not fail to help you, since help is his only purpose. Do you not have greater reason for fearing the world as you perceive it than for looking at the cause of fear and letting it go forever? Okay, well, let's go take a look. I share God's will for happiness for me at the top of every hour. Best you can today, stop and try to take 5 minutes with your eyes closed, if at all possible, and say, I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. And then between those 5 minutes, once an hour, try to tell yourself throughout the day, I share God's will for happiness for me. And I accept it as my function now. Try to tell yourself that several times throughout the day so that you keep yourself bathed in this realization that you don't deserve unhappiness, that you've been entitled to happiness as a son of God. I share God's will for happiness for me. I share God's will for happiness for me. And I accept it as my function now. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. I share God's will for happiness for me. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. I share God's will for happiness for me. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. I share God's will for happiness for me,